Yes, that's right. Survivor Know-It-Alls are here live after the finale, and I should say it is the Survivor Know-It-Alls minus our good friend Stephen Fishback, who is on his way to go to Survivor Second Chance, but here it won't make the cut. Certainly the Carolyn thing is a bigger surprise than the Max thing, just based on screen time.
Yeah, Karen didn't have a great night tonight. I still played Survivor with Stephen Fishback.
Yes. Oh, my God. And so much to get to here tonight. We had the Survivor 30 finale, everything that happened with that. Congratulations to Mike on his victory of the 30th season of Survivor. We had a really wacky final tribal council, some interesting stuff that came up at the reunion show, and Jeff revealed the cast of Survivor Second Chance. Boy, this didn't send Rachel into labor tonight, did it?
Let me check.
Keith Nail makes the final cut that he was on the bubble, but I felt like would have been this exciting 3 hours of television. To give you the Tyson, thank you very much for joining us. Very happy news for Steven. Happy news for a lot of people that we know. Some disappointing news for some other people tonight that found out they're not going. For certain people as well tonight. So let's just set this up because I think that this might be the biggest live show that we ever had. Yeah, Steven, Spencer, Varner, Vitas, very excited. A lot of excitement, I'm sure, at the Skaskis house tonight to see your friend of mine, Vitas, to go back.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was pretty much a lock, I feel.
I him as a lock as well.
Yeah.
Jeremy Collins goes back. He's one of our locks. Terry, we had him on the bubble. He ultimately makes it. Joe, he was a lock. Jim Rice, ultimately Josh Wigler. Send us in your voicemails for that show at robbinswebsite.com/voicemail, and also on our voicemail inbox at 323-282-RHAP. I'm going to be doing that somewhat early in the day tomorrow, so don't wait around for your voicemails. And then Tyson,
willing to even go through it all again. So, you know, give him kudos for casting 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Also, Jim, he got that Mike won the game, which he needed. That was certainly a good sign for him. But ultimately, he's, of course, the Evolution of Strategy, our 30-season rewatch that I'm doing with Josh Wigler and myself. Volume 2 is going to drop on Friday, so get ready for that as well. So much to do. But Tyson, we got to start with this Survivor Second Chance reveal. Did you like? I know you had a lot of friends that were out there. Some of your friends got on. Other people you're friends with did not. Did you like how they did the reveal of Jeff going down and telling people if they were on and if they were not? And it was a bit of a tease for each person.
Yeah, I did like that. I thought that was pretty good. It got through it quickly enough that it didn't draw it out, and I'm sure those people didn't like it so much, but I liked the way they did it. I wasn't sure how they were going to do it.
On our exit polling, and I did a big podcast last night, a 2-hour show projecting what the cast was, and for the most part, we were scared of some sort of nuclear scenario where recency was going to really be the deciding factor and whether all of these TV viewers were going to come up. Basically, the other Troyzan, all people that got somewhat of a neggings that people on the internet were voting for that we didn't get. T-Bird and Shane Powers do not get in the cast. Are you surprised, Tyson?
I'm surprised by Shane. T-Bird I'm not as surprised by, but Shane was mind-blowing to me.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought Shane's video was probably one of the best and realest videos when you go to CBS to vote, so that really, really shocked me.
Yeah, it was shocking also because that the people that voted, they voted in the other classic players. They voted in Kelly Wigglesworth. They voted in Jeff Varner. They voted in Kimmy Kappenberg. It's... Andrew Savage also.
Yeah.
Even
he knew he was gone. He was just like, whatever.
Tyson, for the life of me, I will never know what Brad Culpepper was doing these last 2 weeks.
How do you mean?
The campaign for this at all. You didn't hear a thing from him.
He avoids social media like the plague for some reason, and I don't know if it's like a pride point for him or what it is, but he won't get on Twitter, no Facebook, nothing like that. You got to text him. That's the only way you can get in touch with this.
He is going to be very angry about all of this because that he had so many close calls. I know he was on the show when they went to her.
Yeah, definitely.
He was mad about you. He was mad about Randy. He wanted to know why are all these guys ahead of him. And I am very sad for all of us that we don't get to see Shane back because he is absolutely incredible television.
Yeah, I was a little bit bummed too. Shane as a person, I don't know him that well, but just judging from his online presence and from what he did on the show, that it's shocking and disappointing.
Yeah, and the guy surprise here in all of this, the person that we didn't have, but I told you last night that I was really afraid was going to get in there, was Wu. We had Wu drawing about 25% of on about 25% of your ballots. I said he was the guy that was going to be most helped by a number of just the people that are watching the TV that aren't in the online community. I felt like Wu was going to had a chance to sneak in there, and I said that's going to come at the expense of one of these classic players. I thought it was going to be Terry before it was Shane or Andrew Savage. I'm surprised to see both Terry and Andrew Savage make it and Shane not make it.
Yeah, that was crazy when they were sitting next to each other. I really thought that one would go and one would stay.
Well, that was very surprising. Also surprising, both Max Dawson and Carolyn both don't make the cut. Certainly the Carolyn thing is a bigger surprise than the Max thing just based on screen time.
Yeah, didn't have a great night tonight, I don't think.
No. It wasn't a great night. And for Carolyn, yeah, that was a real bummer because you felt like that America was going to vote her in.
Yeah, who was right after her or right next to her? Stemfitz got a pretty great edit on the show, edit or personality or whatever you want to blame it on. It seemed like people enjoyed her on the show and certainly enjoyed her enough to vote her back on. But there was a little confusion in voting, thinking that either Mike or Carolyn was going to win, and that could have hurt her.
Certainly, yeah, I'm sure, and we'll talk about that with her tomorrow. Also, Keith Nail makes the final cut. That he was on the bubble, but I felt like that there was enough, that he had enough goodwill with the audience that I'm not surprised that he's there. I almost considered him one of the other locks. So just to give you the rundown quick, your cast of Survivor Second Chance for the guys, it's Steven. Very excited to see Steven back. Tyson, people were sending me screenshots that when they had everybody go stand on the stage, Steven was in that winner's seat that you know so well.
Is that
her season wasn't as far back as Monica, but Monica, she had a very strong campaign. She was really out there working it the whole time. Natalie was not. And a lot of excitement, I'm sure, at the Biskowskis house tonight to see your friend and my Vitas to go back.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was pretty much a lock.
Outside looking in.
Yeah.
So,
Harry,
we had him on the bubble. He ultimately makes it. Joe, he was a lock. Jim Rice ultimately did not get it. Jim Rice looked to be the most disappointed of anybody in the audience.
Yeah, it bummed. I mean, and they've teased him a few times before too, so rightly so, you know.
Bird in and PG out, but and I had Carolyn in. I thought Carolyn was going to get the call. Over Monica, I think also, but for the or Carolyn over Kimmy. But for the most part, we kind of knew what was going on with the women. The men we said was a little bit more of a mess, and certainly some he needed. That was certainly a good sign for him. But ultimately, he's one of the 5 guys that doesn't make it. Andrew Savage gets on. Max Dawson, tough night for Max. Doesn't get a question in the reunion. Gets sort of run off the stage, and then also doesn't get back on.
Yeah, loving the game as much as he does.
Yes. Also, Keith gets back on. Keith had a good moment, Jeff calling him up on the stage.
Yeah, in the second chance, because I think
those guys are just going to be like, all right, here's the thing. That's a phone call from Andrew Savage. He was saying that blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like that'll start tomorrow.
Yeah, let's talk to him.
Andrew Savage was random person X that I threw out there. I have no sense of it. The guys who didn't get on, Brad, Max, Jim, Shane, and who is the other? Troyzan. All people that got somewhat of a negative edit or were seen as the from so far back. We're all, Vitas is the one that you could say was villain adjacent.
Yeah.
In Survivor history.
Yeah, it was beautiful to watch. I liked imagining myself in that position, knowing everyone was against you and they couldn't vote you out.
And I probably would have felt like that if you were going to win a Survivor season, I would think that you would ultimately, that was Spencer and Joe, the two side of that, where you were controlling what was going on coming down the stretch, where Mike didn't have that luxury at all down the stretch, and he's really the first person that has done that. And everybody's like, oh, he'll go on an immunity stretch, and he'll go on an immunity run the whole way and win this whole thing. It never happened before until now.
No Facebook, nothing like that. You got to text him. That's the only way you can get in touch with this guy.
People. people if he's up for this again. On the women's side, Cass makes it. We had her as a lock. Sierra, she's going back as well. I thought she was cute on the show when they went to her.
Yeah, definitely. She'll be good.
For Mike, it really was just this incredible run. And for me, I think that maybe one of the smartest things that he did, which I criticized him at the time, was voting out Joe.
Yeah, because he's the only other challenge guy that was even competitive.
Yeah, Joe was the person that was sort of protecting him in that, okay, if Mike votes out Joe, everybody's going to come after Mike. But then they did.
Second choice.
Shireen may have hurt herself in Survivor Worlds Apart with her admission that she was a millionaire at 25. She made her first million when she was 25 in the final Tribal Council speech.
Yeah, I don't think that bodes well for her.
One in between. I'm sorry, Tyler won one, and then Carol won a co-ed one.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of a surprise because at that point we didn't quite know how this vote was going to go, and she was with a couple people, and Jeff said, you know, one of you guys is going to make it on. So PG, congratulations to PG. I know that she goes back. Kelly Wentworth also goes back. We had her as somebody who was sort of in on the bubble, and she's going to be back in the mix. I'm sure she's very excited. I'm sure Dale is very excited. Abby Maria is back. Monica Padilla also was somebody who was on the bubble, but she intrigues me a little bit going back.
Yeah, I can see that. She did have some good plays, and so yeah, I think she deserves to be there. Who was right after her, or right next? Is being able to watch it from a distance. So in the moment and in the game, he probably felt nobody's on my side. I have to take the person who's most competitive in the challenges out, so that I better my odds in winning the next challenges. From a social standpoint, and who's going to win over a jury. You probably would have wanted to vote out Mama C at that point, but you can't always read what the jury's thinking, and so I think he thought was smartest. I was surprised that both sides, both the girls and the guys.
If it was just by the TV viewers, if it came down to Natalie or Monica, I would think that the TV viewers would have voted in Natalie ahead of Monica.
Yeah.
Because she was friends with Boston Rob, and she was there with Boston Rob, and her season wasn't as far back as Monica. But Monica, she was really out there working it the whole time. Natalie was not, and she gets the nod over Natalie. Kimmy Kappenberg is back, and then as we mentioned, Stephanie, Natalie, Carolyn, Sabrina, Michaela. Those were the bottom 5 in our poll. They all are on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
So look, we got to vote out Sierra, but stick with us, or is it just you're just giving ammo to them to then to Mike, and then Mike could change his decision and go and vote with you guys?
No.
But and I had Carolyn in. I thought Carolyn was going to get the call. I had Carolyn over Monica, I think, also. But or Carolyn over Kimmy. But for the most part, we kind of knew what was going on with the women. The men, we said, was a little bit more of a mess, and certainly some surprises there with Wu and Keith and Andrew Savage. Those were 3 of the bubble guys that we had that are all on the inside, with Jim Rice and Shane being the bubble guys who did not.
Like, they ultimately gave him the power at that point. I mean, in the end, it wouldn't have mattered because he won both.
The stuff that's going on with Survivor 30, because we're going to be very tempted all summer long to talk about Survivor Second Chance.
Are you going to interview any people that did not make it on? He had to choose the 2 he thought were most likely to take him to the end.
Tyson, all right, here's the thing. Every single day, I got a phone call from Andrew Savage. He was saying that blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like, that'll start tomorrow.
Yeah, let's talk to him.
Boss, it was a solo family visit, and I feel like that is something threw out there. I have no sense. Definitely a question I'd love to ask Mike sometime. I'm not sure if we're going to have time in that 15 minutes I have with him tomorrow. But so congratulations to Mike. He really, I think, is a unique case in terms of Survivor winners, in that his back was against the wall from so far back out that he really had to win, I think, 5 out of the last 6 challenges go wire to wire like that in Survivor history.
Yeah, it was cool to watch. I liked imagining myself in that position, knowing everyone was against you and they couldn't vote you out.
No, I probably would have felt like that if you were going to win a Survivor season, I would think that you would ultimately, that would be your story. But your Survivor story is actually the opposite of that, where you actually controlled the numbers. And even though you did win a couple final of immunity challenges down this stretch, you played like, you were like on the opposite side of that, where you were controlling what was going on coming down the stretch, where Mike didn't have that luxury at all down the stretch. And he's really the first person that you, like, has done that. And everybody's always worried about somebody, oh, he'll go on an immunity stretch and he'll go on an immunity run the whole way and win this whole thing. It never happened before until now over Carolyn. Did you like that decision?
But if you can win challenges, there's no reason to have to keep the numbers.
Yeah.
The go would have been the way to go.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of just have to go with your gut because you really don't know what's on the minds of the jury.
Okay. So then we decide to get Sierra out. So we go to the final four, and Mike gets this advantage, and he gets to go through the blindfold maze with his mom. Do you think that that was the deciding factor in why Mike won that challenge?
As far as why he wanted to win the challenge, or
why that he had the 30 minutes to have Joe in there? I mean, it's such a crazy season where Joe wins the first couple of immunities, and then after that, pretty much Mike wins the rest of them with Carolyn winning one in between. I'm sorry, no, Tyler won one, and then Carolyn won a co-ed one.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And so.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It just proves that this game is so unpredictable. And like you could throw those 20 people in the same exact game in the same exact scenario, and it would play out 100 different ways each time.
Where he got to go practice with the marble, and then he ultimately would go on to win that challenge. So do you like that? Is it almost like getting 2 wins in one when you win the challenge to get the advantage?
Yeah, I think the advantage is too much. It always, I think for the most part, it's proven to be the deciding factor in the win for that person. I think we've seen Cochran win an advantage. We've seen Keith win an advantage. Mike got that advantage. Everybody who gets the advantage seems to win the following. In the moment and in the game, he probably felt, nobody's on my side. I have to take the person who's most competitive in the challenges out so that I better my odds in winning the next challenges. From a social standpoint and who's going to win over a jury, you probably would have wanted to vote out Mama C at that point. But you can't always read what the jury's thinking. And so I think Mike did what he thought was smartest. I was surprised that both sides, both the girls and the guys, were fighting over Mike's vote when the guys should have gone to Carolyn and gotten her on board with voting out Sierra, or the 2 girls should have gone. They should have left Mike out of the decision making. I don't know why all of a sudden they decided he got to decide everything right there.
Yeah, they let Mike be in a very powerful decision to be in. Mike then goes and talks to Rodney and Will, and he has that conversation about voting out Sierra. They don't sort of go back and try to talk to the women. Do you think that that would have been a good idea for Will and Rodney to go back and tell Sierra, Mike isn't going to vote with you. He says he's voting with us tonight. So, look, we got to vote out Sierra, but stick with us. Or is it just you're just giving ammo to them to then go back to Mike, and then Mike could change his decision and go and vote with you guys?
No, you have to play every angle, but I don't know why, with everybody being so anti-Mike in the game, why they didn't try harder to work amongst the 3 instead of including Mike on both sides. Like it's a similar situation to what I had when we take out Hayden, and me one direction and Hayden and Caleb were pulling me the other direction, and I was on the chopping block at first, and all of a sudden it disappeared, and I was in the power position. And it's the same thing with Mike. They ultimately gave him the power at that point. I mean, in the end, it wouldn't have mattered because he won both immunity challenges, but at the time you don't know that, and they gave him the power. All he had to do from then on out, he had to choose the 2 he thought were most likely to take him to the end. Mike now.
Yeah. They had a reward challenge here at Final 5, and the reward was a family visit and also an advantage in the next immunity challenge. And both things are interesting to me. The family visit because it was a solo family visit, and I feel like that is something sometime. I'm not sure if we're going to have time in that 15 minutes I have with him tomorrow, but what do you think about that Survivor didn't give him the option to to give the family visit away. And in some ways, don't you think that helped Mike?
I do think it pissed those few people off. He didn't have the option to make him upset or to try and please him a little bit. I don't know which way Mike would have gone with that either, though. With everybody so anti-Mike, he might have chose to see his mom anyways.
And he doesn't have to go ahead and offend anybody either, where somebody's like, you know what, Mike, you're a jerk. You didn't let me have my reward. It's bad enough I didn't go to any rewards this whole season. And now, ultimately, yeah, that was a very funny moment in the episode, too, when Jeff was giving the birthday cake to Rodney. Very, very, very funny.
Very good. Because I really feel like he would have upset somebody in that situation.
Yeah.
The option. It made his game a little easier.
Yeah. Okay. So then for Mike, the next decision that he ultimately has to make, he takes out Sierra over Carolyn. Did you like that decision?
She was the one that was doing the best in challenges, and if his goal was to win out in challenges, that makes sense. As far as strategic and social players, Mama C would have been the way to go. Yeah. So it's to going either direction, and at that point you'd kind of just have to go with your gut because you really don't know what's on the minds of the jury.
Okay. So then we decide to get Sierra out. So we go to the final four, and Mike gets this advantage, and he gets to go through the blindfold maze with his mom. Do you think that was the deciding factor in why Mike won that challenge?
Yeah, as far as why he wanted to win the challenge. Why he won that, you could see him kind of coasting through it a little bit easier than everybody else. I think he probably went through the maze without his blindfold first when he was studying it with his mom, which would have been the smart thing to do. And then after that, blindfold him and see if he could get through it. I think they didn't probably show us him and his mom memorizing the maze.
So Keith ultimately won the advantage where he got to go practice with the marbles, and then he ultimately would go on to win that challenge. So do you like that? Is it almost like getting 2 wins in one when you win the challenge, the advantage?
Yeah, I think it's too much. It always, I think for the most part, it's proven to be the deciding factor in the win for that person. I think we've seen Cochran win an advantage. We've seen Keith win an advantage. Mike got that advantage. Everybody who gets the advantage seems to win the following challenge. And I think the Immunity Idol, which you can only play at Final 5, and then having this on top of it, it's like a double whammy.
Right. I think you have to go back to Malcolm in Survivor Philippines, who got an advantage at Final 4, and his advantage was that he got a second life in like holding the BBs on the thing, and that was an endurance challenge where ultimately he's already tired, so second life didn't really help him that much. But yeah, it does seem like the advantages are a very big advantage.
Yeah, I think if you can find a way to weaken them or use them earlier in the game, I would probably prefer that.
Mike, because you didn't have an advantage in winning any of the challenges that you won.
I mean, it's in the rules of the game. Everybody gets the option.
Okay, so then we get down to the Final 4, and I thought this was such an absurd scene at the end of the Final 4 immunity challenge. So ultimately win. The guy that everybody is trying to get out at that point wins immunity, and then everybody is like, Will is like talking about like that, you know, or Rodney is commending Will for what he did, and then they want to all put the necklace around him. I've never seen anything like this on Survivor before. People like Will, who were never really strategic in the game, suddenly he's this strategic person. That's where, I mean, he told him the night before at Tribal Council, hey, if you don't win, you're out, buddy.
Yeah.